Fresh is the word.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, K Fresh. It's February now, February 1st, when you first listen to this, when I'm dropping this. And we got some wrestling news, and we got a great show coming up for you. First, to start off, a little bit of some sad news that just hit the net. The best there ever is, best there ever was, and the best there ever will be. Bret Hart just announced via his Facebook page that he is battling prostate cancer and is undergoing surgery next week to, try to battle it. So that's pretty sad. He's gone through a lot of things. He had a devastating career-ending concussion, bunch of surgeries, 2 knee replacements, 2 hernia operations, surgery on his right elbow, and even just recently he had some surgery on his wrist. So he's definitely been banged up for all that time of greatness in the ring. You either loved him or hate him, but he's definitely one of the best to ever do it in the world of pro wrestling. So here's a lot of love and speedy recovery and another defeat by Bret the Hitman Hart. On to some more happier news. This weekend I went to NXT Detroit at the Royal Oak Music Theater, and it was one of the best wrestling shows I've ever been to live. Like, just the whole spirit in there was just electrifying. Some of the biggest pops of the night was for Enzo and Cass, always. Johnny Gargano had a good pop. There was a match between Ty Dillinger and Sami Zayn. The match had to be stopped because Ty Dillinger got injured. And I looked back to video on that online later on. It was ugly. Bayley, of course, got a huge pop in her match against Nia Jax. Dash and Dawson, they got a huge. That was a good match with American Alpha. American Alpha definitely had the crowd on their side, especially Chad Gable. The main event was a fatal 4-way: Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin versus Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor. That all the way around, people were on the side of definitely Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. And Finn Balor won by pinfall after doing a coup de grace on literally everybody. Everybody was stacked on top of each other, and he did a coup de grace on them all. It was definitely an amazing event. The Chancellor and Bayley's match against Nia Jax were amazing. The "Hey, we want some Bayley." I wonder if she knows or anybody knows what that's a reference to. Hint: 2 Live Crew. A crowd started redoing Biz Marquis' "Just a Friend" for Bayley. Like, "Oh, Bayley, you got what I need, but you say he's just a friend. But you say he's just a friend." That was the best one. Plus, somebody threw in a Bayley Club, like the Bullet Club T-shirt, into Bayley, and she put it on. It was amazing. But over and all, it was just like an amazing event. And if you ever get a chance to go to see NXT, oh my God, amazing, And speaking of NXT, during one of the recent tapings for a future episode, they did drop some big news for the world of professional wrestling. They announced the debut of Shinsuke Nakamura into NXT. One of my favorite wrestlers currently. He just did his farewell match for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which I'll get to in a minute. But apparently for NXT Dallas, that's going on, NXT TakeOver Dallas, that's going on WrestleMania weekend, he's going to be making his NXT debut against Sami Zayn. Oh my goodness. Dude, I can't even wait for that. It's going to be emotional. And speaking of Shinsuke Nakamura, a couple days ago, it was January 30th, he had his farewell match in New Japan Pro Wrestling at Kirkin Hall. And oh my, dude, like, I was emotional because watching it on New Japan Pro Wrestling World, like they did this whole vignette, this whole package of his whole career, all the matches, all his best matches, all the titles he's won, and it was very emotional, man. I teared up, and even at the end after the match, because they had a six man tag with pretty much everybody who he ever battled with or against in New Japan Pro Wrestling that's still there was in the 6 man match, and at the end, just like Okada was in tears, and they he went off. He left the arena on the shoulders of Okada. They really gave him the respect. The whole crowd when he was coming out just went nuts, and they all had little signs that said "Yow." I was like, oh my god. I like if you have New Japan Pro Wrestling World and can watch that, or if you find it online somewhere, then it would be just watch it. You're gonna tear up somewhere. You're gonna tear up if you love pro wrestling. You might cry a little bit because it's so emotional. Okay, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get to the interview of the week. It was an awesome interview with Trevor Strnad, the lead singer of the Detroit area based black metal band Black Dahlia Murder. I did this interview probably in mid-December, just before they were about to do a show at the Majestic Theater, part of the Black Christmas show there with a ton of other Michigan bands. And I went to the show. They were awesome. They have a new album out called Abysmal, and it's really dope. They still got it. I love them. It was really good to talk with Trevor. We kind of went back and talked about the beginnings of the band and what other bands were around, how there really wasn't a metal scene at the time, so they kind of had to come up in the hardcore scene, and how that influenced the band. So they still have this sort of link between the metal scenes and the hardcore scenes, which they kind of go about. So we talked a lot about that, and talked about the what's going on with the new music and whatnot, what they still try to do, and how big of nerds they all are. So it was super good to talk with them. So let's get to the interview with Trevor Strnad of the Black Dahlia Murder.
Right on, dude. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just chilling at home and some rare time off right now.
Right. Yeah, you guys are in between tours.
Yeah, we just wrapped up the first half of the indie merch thing that we put together, and it was killer. But I'm looking forward to the second half, definitely.
You and Brian have been with the band since the beginning. When you look back, what really sticks out to you about those early years of the band starting out?
I guess just how green we were. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted to tour and be, a band that had albums coming out, and stuff like that, like a real band, but we just didn't know how to get there in the early days. We spent the first 3 years just kind of kicking around Michigan and driving I would say we'd show up to the show in 4 vehicles full of instruments. So
right.
in the early days, it was just typical local band stuff. We didn't have any money for a vehicle. We didn't have, I don't know. We just didn't, you know what I mean? We didn't know anything yet. So I know when I think back there, it's insane to me to think that that's even the same band as this, but yeah, we were young once, man. I remember when Brian was still in high school and he was graduating and stuff, like when I first was getting with the BDM and everything. So yeah, I remember when we were regarded as a young band now, and now I have young bands coming up to us that we're playing with and talking to us like we're old grandpas, So.
Right. Yeah, when the band started, when you guys were just kind of, when it was just coming together, what were all you guys doing at the time? Why did this band happen?
I think it just started for fun, and I still, do it for fun. It's awesome, but it was just out of necessity for me, I think, and I think probably for the others too. Just some kind of outlet of, something positive to do that's fun. To kind of blow off some steam. And, we were definitely all nerds, so I think that kind of brought us together too, because we really even fit in the scene around here, which was largely a hardcore scene, but there wasn't much of a metal scene to speak of, around here. So, we cut our teeth by playing lots of hardcore shows, and but like I said, we definitely didn't fit in around there, and I think we were just brought together because we were like the outcasts, you know what I mean? But when we first got together, man, Corey the drummer was 16.
Right.
So, I mean, we were pretty young. I was the old man then, and I'm back to being the old man now. We did have some older members for a second, but I'm the old guy now. 34 years, fart and dust.
Oh yeah, I'm the same age.
Yeah, see, it's all downhill. Now we're getting really hungover,
Oh yeah. Definitely, man. When you're kind of, you're just talking about, how there really not much of a metal scene around in Michigan, but you kind of cut your teeth in the hardcore scene. Sort of, talk about, how that scene was like around that time, in that early 2000s.
Well, it was mostly based around this place, Mr. Muggs, that was in Ypsilanti. And, man, we used to play there so much that we would come down Friday, open the show, leave our equipment at the place, and come back Saturday and do it again on a different show. We were, in pretty good with the owner, and I don't know, it wasn't, it's just like your standard kind of punk run DIY venue, and we, let's see, in the early days we played with Creationist Crucifixion. I remember that was a big deal then. Circle of Dead Children, we used to play with them a lot, and they were cool. So there was a metal, aspect to the scene, definitely. And at the time, it was like a lot of Willow Tip Records bands coming through, a lot of the early stuff there. Yeah. And I don't know, it was fun, dude. It was really fun, man. I remember sitting outside Mr. Muggs on the sidewalk and just being like, okay, it's the same 30 people that always come that we know, you know what I mean? And like, no hope that anybody was going to come to the show. And that's just kind of how it was, man. It's so weird to even think that was the same band. But, like now that I've been away for so long touring and stuff, I mean, there's a really cool metal scene that's popped up here in Detroit, and a lot of really cool bands that I try to go out and see when I can, if I'm fortunate enough to be home at the same time. But there's definitely some cool shit here, man. Shitfucker is awesome. Okay. Kind of like Venom meets G.G. Allen, I would say. Yeah. And they're just totally insane. Like, I've seen the singer, bass player dude, like, piss into the crowd and stuff. Like, like just totally fucking nuts, man. There's our ex-drummer, Zach, has a lot of great bands. Nightkin is has our old bass player as well, Dave, that was on the second record, Miasma. And it's sort of like BDM, I would say, Nightkin, black and death metal kind of stuff. They're really awesome. Then he's got Gut Rot, who's been going for a long time. Shit Life, another band with shit in the name. Gotta love that. Hell yeah. But there's a lot of great stuff that's popped up around here, man, for sure. And we definitely didn't have anything to do with it. We were gone, you know what I mean? Just doing our thing, and I was just tunnel visioning so long on everything that I just hadn't realized about all the great stuff that was going on here, Kind of in the comparison to where, early on in your band's career, there was kind of like a lack of metal, whereas there's, more metal today. What is it about like the, Detroit area metal scene today that is like so vibrant about it? I don't know I think it's just a response to how shitty the actual city is. I think that people just want something cool to do, something positive to do, and just somewhere to go have a beer with your friends and hang out, and I think that's kind of what the metal scene is, and it's a lot of the bands I have this kind of theme of being like from the ruins of Detroit, like playing up the apocalyptic nature of the place. So like a lot of the themes of the band, like Nuke, for example, is another really cool band. And they sing about RoboCop, he's supposedly from Detroit, of course. Right. And Nuke being the drug from RoboCop 2. So in a way, like just Detroit kind of lent itself to like, I don't know, their theme and their kind of, I don't know, it's pretty cool, man. There's a big group of bands and they're all kind of incestuous and Shitfucker, Nuke, Perversion, and they're all cool bands and they're all kind of like on that crusty tip a little bit too, I would say.
Right. While you guys were kind of like cutting your teeth early on in the hardcore scene, what was it about that part of the scene that really influenced your band?
I guess it was trying to keep up with the other bands. We'd be playing on stage with a band, like Bane or something. We opened for Bane and we opened for Throwdown. And I guess just seeing, we always liked hardcore too. We were fans. I still do, so I think it was just seeing the intensity of hardcore bands and like just how insane their live show was. And, we just didn't want to be up there just looking at our guitar necks, like tech nerds, you know what I mean? So I think it definitely influenced us to play hard and to go hard and kind of, break down that fourth wall too, where you interact with the crowd, like in my ideal show, I'm able to pull people on the stage dive and stick the mic in their mouth and make them sing, if they know the words. And
yeah.
I mean, that's what I prefer, and I would say that we learned that from hardcore, and just the idea of the show just being like, I don't know, just a rager, I guess, a party. So, we were just trying to keep up, I think. So we just didn't look bad up there,
Right. How long did it take, from the inception of this band to where you had some sort of clarity about how you wanted this band to sound?
I guess it was probably after the first demo. The first demo we did was more of a metalcore kind of style, I would say, and that we were really influenced by Prayer for Cleansing at the time, and they were like the Between the Buried and Me band. Them, Undying. I mean, because at the time there was a lot of metalcore coming out. There was a lot of like, extreme metal being married with hardcore, and I guess we kind of fit in with that scene at the time with the first demo there. But I guess after that, so I guess it would be like 5 songs in, we wrote the first song with no breakdowns and all, it was all blast beats and stuff and all, it was more metal than anything we had done up to that point, and we kind of shed some of those hardcore characteristics there. And then after that would be the first EP, which came next, which was the 6th, 7th, and I think that 5th song as well. So we put that out on a small label, and basically from that, we were just trying to like get a rap sheet together, get some reviews that we could take quotes from, and just assemble some kind of a bio, because we had our eyes on getting on a decent label, you know what I mean?
Right.
We pretty much sent materials out to all the players in the game, from Nuclear Blast, Metal Blade, and Century Media on down.
Yeah.
And 30 rejection letters later, we were about to sign with Willowtip, which was exciting for us. Definitely a cool label that I still watch and, I'm still a big fan of. But, we were talking to Jason from Willowtip, and things were going pretty well. And then we got a call from Metal Blade, and we just at first thought it was a joke because it just took so long to happen after we sent everything.
Right.
And like I said, 30 rejection letters had come already from all the other labels and shit. So it just was amazing, man. And that pretty much was the turning point where it was like, quit everything, quit your life, and go on tour and never look back. And I think we're still there,
Right. Do you feel like that getting that call from Metal Blade was sort of that event when you realized that the momentum of this band could, go in a good direction, whereas now you're 15 years deep in it now?
I think it was a little earlier than that. Like it was some of the reactions to that EP I had mentioned.
Okay.
We were talking to some of the bands at Relapse, and they were like, "Oh, the label's been talking about you guys," and that just blew our minds at the time. We were just, and it was right about then that we kind of like were like, "All right, dude, I think we can totally do this, man. We can totally get out there and at least tour, you know what I mean, and try to tour. That's like was the main goal at the time, was just to be able to have somebody out of town like your music and then bring it to them. You know what I mean? It wasn't a very lofty goal, but I mean,
Right.
it was, you know, huge at the time. And just, you know, right about then, it just started to seem like it got, you know, things were getting good. And that's when we had the idea of, you know, assembling this package. And the package would have the EP that I was just talking about, and then it would have 3 demos of songs that were going to be on the first album.
Yeah.
Because we'd gotten John Kay on guitar around that time. And, you know, that's when we first started having leads in the songs. And we wanted to kind of show that off to the labels and stuff.
Right.
So we sent the EP, and we sent the demo, and we sent along a rap sheet, you know, talking about, you know, whatever we'd done, what bands we played with and stuff like that. And, yeah, I mean, that was the time when we started to get excited about things. Like, okay, you know, let's just try it. Let's go for it. And what's the harm in reaching out to all the labels? And, you know, it's better than just wishing, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But, yeah, getting the call from Metal Blade was just everything, dude. It was like, wow, you know, he sees how passionate we are about leaving and going to take over the world. And I don't know, Slagle just always, I don't know, he just really liked the band from the inception, and just has always been really cool to us, and always saw us as something special, you know, even in our infancy. So that was a huge compliment. I mean, he's like one of the reasons that metal is the way it is. You know what I mean? Having ties with Metallica and Slayer and all these great bands, and you know, so it was a huge compliment, and it still is to us, that he backs us so hard. You know?
Yeah. Early on, when you guys were getting sort of that feedback from like Metal Blade and those other labels, what sort of feedback were you hearing about, you know, about your band?
Well, I mean, there was Relapse. When they rejected us, they said that they liked the stuff, but they thought that it was, I guess, too derivative, you know, and like we've never claimed to be a reinvention of the wheel or anything like that. I mean, the band is definitely a melting pot of the sounds that we like to, you know, to hear and play. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge insult or anything like that. But, I mean, the positive stuff, I think, was just hearing a melodic band so aggressive. I think that was what was exciting to people, you know. And that was kind of the niche we were trying to fill, I guess, was, you know, something between At the Gates and Dissection, and then all the, like, brutal American stuff that we were getting into that was really blast beat heavy and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just kind of marrying those things that we liked, and I think it was the energy of the band and just how fast everything was flying by that was the selling point then, or something to be excited about, maybe.
Right. And I'm looking at the discography, and it looks like just on a regular basis, you guys have put out albums every 2 years. How do you feel like the band has, you know, progressed during that time being with Metal Blade?
Man, I think the band's come a long, long way. I mean, when I look at the first record, you know, I like the songs, and I feel like we've definitely stuck to that same statement of being a melodic death metal band that's also aggressive. But I feel like we've just gotten so much better at doing it over the years, you know, that we've refined the style and injected a lot more songwriting and competence into what we do, I think. And it changes for me. I notice the change every 2 years. You know, every time the guys come back with new material, I'm really excited to hear it, you know, and just to see where they're at. And it seems like just in the cycle there, 2 years of touring and playing a million shows and hearing a million bands. And, you know, in our life, things happen pretty fast, you know, so we write quickly. You know, we don't afford ourselves a lot of time at home to write, sadly, but so, you know, we've been operating at this accelerated pace for a long time. It's just kind of what we're used to now. But the 2 year thing, I think, seems to be working really good, man. I think that people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Right.
And, you know, I think that music being largely free for everybody is kind of helping that become more disposable, you know. So I think that for us, just to keep stuff fresh, have new artwork, new tours, new everything, you know what I mean? Just to keep people coming, keep people excited. And, we like to create, I love to make new music with the band. And like I said, to see where they're at every 2 years, man, because they just keep growing and growing as players. And I think that, Ryan and Brian, the guitar players, definitely have influenced each other to become better, I definitely like to create with the band. There's no shortage of creative energy, that's for sure.
How do you guys, go about, writing and recording new tracks each album cycle?
Well, it starts with either guitar player will write the song in privacy of their own home, in their underwear or whatever, I don't know. But by the time that I hear it, the song will be pretty much done. It'll have both guitars, bass. They program the drums and they sound pretty good. And man. So by the time I hear it, it sounds like a professional song. It's not quite the five of us just banging around in a room, like we did with the first couple records. And we were kind of forced to get with the whole Pro Tools era when we were looking for a drummer a few years back. We had an album to write, we had a schedule to be on, and no drummer at the time. So we were just like, okay, I think we have to learn how to, use Pro Tools so we can just still, be creating while we're looking for this guy. And that honestly was like one of the best things we ever did, because I think the songs since then have become way more developed, way more style. And, so it's a good thing. But by the time I get the song, like I said, it's almost done. And then I sit with it in my computer and just write the lyrics into some kind of a word program and listen to the song a quadrillion times.
Right.
So, it's been going the same exact way now since the third record, Nocturnal. That's when we were looking for a drummer for so long. But, man, it's cool. We got guys that, to live outside of the state, so we don't even really practice regularly anymore, right, together at least. So we'll get together like a few days before a tour and, hammer it out a few times for a few days and get back up to speed usually. But there's a lot of upkeep that the band requires. It's not exactly Green Day music, you know what I mean? So the drummer especially has to do a lot of practicing on his own to keep his chops up and shit, because it's pretty Olympic to play an hour and 15 minutes of crazy fast music,
Oh, hell yeah. How much material do you guys usually go through before, kind of trimming down what actually goes on the album?
Pretty much everything is kept. If there's something that we felt wasn't up to snuff, we would just, rewrite it or retool it right from the get-go. But for the most part, everything that the guys bring forth, I think is awesome. And we're not one of those bands that has like a lot of unreleased stuff. You know what I mean? Pretty much everything we write is intended to go on the albums. And with this last one, though, Abysmal, obviously, the label in Germany was like, guys, it would be really smart if you could give us some kind of a bonus material. And, because it's even harder to sell a physical copy out there, it seems like, than it is here. Yeah. So they said that, having bonus tracks and, having stuff to stick in the Americans' faces, I guess, would be an incentive for them to buy the album. So we did write extra songs for the album. There's one song I think would have fit on it pretty good. Then there's a sort of a grindcore style song that was fun. And then the last song is a joke song in German, just totally trying to ham it up for the German fans. So, that's the first time we've ever done anything like that. But, for the most part, it's just 10 songs and, they're written one by one and we kind of decide where they fit in afterwards. And, that's pretty typical for us.
Talking about the new album, Abysmal, what was kind of like the general mood, going into this album about how you wanted to sound in comparison to your previous albums?
There wasn't really much discussion on that front as far as like, a mission statement or anything like that. But there was definitely excitement when the material started to formulate and come together. it just seemed so, I don't know, like they just really kicked ass on the songs, and it was just so exciting for me to hear, and I'm in the band, so it just inspires me to write, the best stuff I can write to try to honor what they've done. I'm just trying to keep up as pretty much as far as I look at it with those guys. So, once we had like 3 or 4 songs, it just felt so good. Like, wow, we really are writing a cool record here. And, it felt to me like the quintessential album that we'd done so far, and it embodied everything that we'd done, but it had sort of a new flair, and if anything was different, I think it was just the recording approach to use a more live sound and not quantize the drums, like move every single hit onto the grid on time, which is, a lot of extreme metal has been doing this for the last few years, and it's definitely a time saving thing, and it's easier to do. But we were just, listening to all these classic albums and being like, why are these albums so good? What is the difference? Why do these sound so timeless? I think then that was it, just not making your band sound like a bunch of robots playing it, So for us, keeping it a little bit imperfect this time, it just made it more, I don't know, it's just more real sounding. It sounds more like when we play live, and I think it captures the energy of the band better than any of the albums since the first one. And the first one was recorded in a similar live kind of approach. So kind of going back to that felt really good.
Whether it's, from a personal level or a musical level, how do you feel like your other band members, influence you?
Well, there's Brian, who obviously has been here forever with me, and he's like my best friend. And, he's just undyingly devoted to this thing, so I've definitely never felt alone in this campaign, like we've pretty much sworn to each other that we're going to take this thing as far as we can. There's never, ever been a doubt in my mind that he was going to be there or he's going to be doing this thing with me. It's just, we share that at the very, the heart of this thing. There's that, and then there's the other guys that have come in more recently. Alan, the drummer, he's the youngest and the newest guy in the band. He just turned 26. So he's like my little brother, I would say, kind of in the band. I sit next to him in the van all the time. And, we show each other new music all the time. And I kind of look out for him too, you know what I mean? Cause he's just young, you know what I mean? And, but having that kind of youthfulness in the band, I think is cool and kind of inspiring for us as well. You know what I mean? To kind of just see how gung ho he is about everything. And he wants to go out and see every city and, just do everything there is to do, cause he's young. And so, that is cool. That's exciting for us. And Max, let's see, Max is also one of the newer members of the band. He's been with us, I want to say like 3 years now. And he's just a killer bass player. He's an awesome friend. He works really hard on stage and definitely inspired us to turn up the heat on stage. Once we got him up there, it was like, man, this guy's a freaking beast, man. And I think it just made everybody more excited to be there doing it, And so, I feel like we're in pretty good form right now with Max and Max's inspiration there. And then I guess that leaves Ryan Knight, who is a killer guitar player that's brought a lot of just awesome technique and ideas and knowledge into the band. And he's the most musically inclined of all of us, the most educated of all of us. So, his techniques and ideas and just the way he looks at songwriting and everything has been largely influential on the rest of us. And, he came in the band as a creative force, where Brian had written the first 3 records pretty much all by himself. Now we have Ryan contributing songs as well, and he's brought so much to the sound and so much to the fold that, we're definitely just in debt to his contribution to the band. So, the guys are awesome. They're my friends. I love them to death. We've had a lot of people through the band, that's for sure, but they've always been cool. We never tried to just take somebody because they could play the stuff. We always believed that they were going to bring something to the fold of the personality of the band.
Yeah.
And, we always try to take people on that were going to be cool to the fans, that just, we're just cool people, and we have to be around them so much, that it's important to have a good vibe with your band, I can't even imagine being in a band full of hired guns and like not trusting each other, or, this has been a project of friendship for sure, this entire thing.
Yeah, when you guys are on the road, when you're, kind of need a break from doing music type things, what sort of activities do you guys kind of engage in? What do you do for fun?
Well, we eat lots of junk food. There's lots of snacks and snack trading. And, it's pretty much like Halloween every day in the back of the van. Everybody's got their candy. We're trading. There's some weed smoking. That's good for passing the time. There's
Right.
lots of downtime in touring. Video games, of course, general dude stuff. Lots of video games. I'd say at any time there's somebody in the band is playing a Final Fantasy game. We've noticed that.
You guys definitely are nerds.
Yep, living it.
Living it. When whether it's when you're on stage or before or after shows, what sort of energy do you see from your fans?
It's awesome energy. It's positive, man. I think it's inspiring. I try to interact with as many fans as I can, and we've always been one of those bands that goes into the crowd, and hangs out and, watches the other bands and relates with the fans. And I think that's really spoken to people a lot, just saying, hey man, we're down on earth. We're on the same level, like you're just as important to this whole thing as we are. You know what I mean? So, man, I'm totally getting away from the question here. I can't even remember what it was.
No, I was just,
it's the fan energy.
Yeah.
And, man, just like seeing the devotion of some of these people to us, it reminds me of how I was with Megadeth. They were like my first love as a band, my first love in metal. And I was just insanely obsessed with them, and I see people like that for us. And it's awesome. I see myself at 15 in the crowd a lot. An introverted kid with wire-rimmed glasses that's definitely kind of a nerd. And, metal is his thing, man. Metal is like what floats his boat, So it's cool, dude. It's definitely cool.
What are some of the things that you hear from your fans? How does your band affect them?
Man, there's people that have told me that my lyrics have saved their life. And I mean, that's just so heavy, but so awesome too. If I could bring somebody some kind of relief in a moment like that, that's just huge, and, even the songs I write that aren't really about, personal things, there's a lot of fantasy in what I write, a lot of like, assuming character roles of murderers and monsters and things like that. But I think that there's a common thread of like empowerment for the character, so I think people can relate to that as well, and so, I mean, just people saying that, I don't know, man, that they would kill for us or die for us or, it's all exaggerated, I guess, of course, but just a huge, huge compliment, and like I said, man, just there's no comparison for playing live and just the feeling of people freaking out and singing the words to music that you created yourself. And it's cool, man. It's like a high that you can't really get anywhere else.
Yeah, kind of excited on something you just said. What influences you personally to write the lyrics that you write?
Well, definitely it's all staked in the macabre, of course. And I really look to metal of past, like the old death metal pretty much I want to represent what I like about death metal and what I've liked about it since I was 13, just cool artwork, zombies, werewolves, just all the cliche stuff that, people would be like, oh, that's just so, beaten to death. Oh, yeah. I just still love it, and yeah. I love to put my own spin on those kind of things, help, I'm stuck in a grave and I can't get out. That's funeral thirst, but it's also been so many other death metal songs, but I just love the classics, man, and I like to kind of put my own poetic kind of twist on things. And, I really enjoy writing for the band. It's fun, and it's definitely cool to have people hanging on to what I say, and just expecting more, when a new album comes out, it can definitely, be a little bit of pressure, to have people waiting for what you're going to say.
Okay, yeah, to kind of close out this interview, you guys have been around for about 15 years now. When you think about that, how do you feel about that?
It's amazing. It's awesome. I feel like it's gone by in about 5 minutes because it's been so fun. I see myself in the mirror and I go, whoa, what happened? The other day I was young, but it's been amazing, man. This has been beyond my wildest dreams. This is basically my dream just being perpetuated, I never thought that we'd be able to stay around this long and, endure the kind of coming and going of trends and, that was our ultimate goal, to be able to survive. So, that's what we're trying to do now, is just keep doing what we're doing, If the band never gets any bigger, I will die happy 1,000 times over, man. It's been amazing so far. So, I'm just thankful, man, for everything.
Great. Yeah, that's about it for the interview, man. Thanks for, chatting with me. It's been great talking with you, man.
Oh, it was pretty fun, dude. I haven't talked about those old days in a long time, man.
That's great, man. I enjoyed shooting the shit with you about it.
Yeah, man, me too, dude. Thanks a lot.
So that was the interview with Trevor Strnad of the Black Dahlia Murder. Go pick up their new album, Abysmal. It's out right now on Metal Blade. If you go see them, if they're in your town, go see them live. They're awesome. They're quite mesmerizing live, actually. I really love to see them. That was the first time I actually saw them back in December. So I would definitely go to many more shows of theirs. Go pick up their whole catalog. They're a good fucking band. And very influential to our city's rock and metal scene. It was great to talk with Trevor. If you'd like to support the Fresh is the Word podcast, you can go to our website, which is freshasthepodcast.com. And there's a link at the top that says support the podcast. And on that page, there is a PayPal link that you can donate to. Or there is a Amazon link on there that you can use anytime that you want to purchase anything on Amazon. Use that link, and after you make your purchases, Amazon will shoot some commission back to me. I'll just go to help the show. Also, I definitely appreciate all the listens, and if you definitely want to share the links to the website, freshasthepodcast.com, or any of the links on SoundCloud, that's definitely appreciated and will definitely help support the podcast. You can also reach Fresh is the Word on the social medias at Instagram and Twitter at Fresh is the Word 1. That's Fresh is the Word number 1. And on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Fresh is the Podcast and give us a like on that page. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, so go ahead and search Fresh is the Word on there and go ahead and subscribe to us. And it also would be very helpful if you go onto iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and throw some comments on there. Thanks for listening. See you soon.
Fresh is the word.